Hypnosis as we know it today had its origins in the unique medical practices of Dr. Franz Anton Mesmer, a physician who lived in Vienna, Austria during the mid-18th century. Mesmer was a fervent believer in the more esoteric aspects of Western medical tradition, including the influence of astronomy and magnets on human health. In 1774, during a magnetic treatment with a female patient, Mesmer felt that he perceived a fluid flowing through the woman's body whose flow was affected by his own will. He eventually named this fluid and its manipulation animal magnetism, and developed an elaborate theory regarding its effect on health. Mesmer believed that every individual had magnetic fluid flowing through channels throughout his body, and that blockages in the flow of this fluid caused emotional or physical disease. He believed that certain individuals had more or less innate animal magnetism, and therefore varied in their ability to manipulate the flow of this fluid. In the late 1770s, Mesmer moved to Paris and found more interested students there than in Vienna. The process of animal magnetism, or mesmerism, laid the foundations for the later development of hypnosis. A contemporary English doctor described Mesmer's technique in vivid detail. His patients were received with the air of mystery and studied effect. The apartment, hung with mirrors, was dimly lit. A profound silence was observed, broken only by strains of music which occasionally floated through the rooms. The patients were seated around a sort of vat which contained a heterogeneous mixture of chemical ingredients. With this and with each other, they were placed in relation by means of cords or jointed rods or by holding hands, and among them slowly and mysteriously moved Mesmer himself, affecting one by a touch, another by a look, a third by passes with his hand, a fourth by pointing with a rod. One person became hysterical, then another. One was seized with catalepsy, others with convulsions, some with palpitations of the heart, perspirations, and other bodily disturbances. The method was supposed to provoke in the sick person exactly the kind of action beneficial to his recovery. To the uninitiated, the scene was full of wonderment. The extraordinary tales of Mesmer's personal power over individuals are probably part exaggeration, part real results of his confidence and skill in the use of the means he wielded. By the mid-1780s, Mesmer's dramatic practices had drawn the amazement and scrutiny of the citizens of Paris, including the King Louis XVI himself, who commissioned a panel of renowned scientists to examine animal magnetism as fact or fiction once and for all.
Here is our story tonight with the incredible Alan Rickman, the story of Anton Mesmer, and how he came to this realization of the suggestibility of the basis of hypnosis, what at the time was called mesmerism, named after him. He believed in animal magnetism and many things. At the end of this movie, we will have a little bit more of the history of hypnosis. I welcome you to I Think, Therefore I Am Flix, Mesmer.
Gentlemen, forgive the state of our dress. Dr. Devauxen and myself were somewhat inconvenienced by a mob. Rest assured, though, none of them were former patients.
Well, let's hope the authorities follow sound medical practice, eh? Best way to treat hysteria is to open a few veins.
Fellows of the Royal Society of Medicine. Yes, this assembly has been called so that certain claims made by Dr. Franz Anton Mesmer of Vienna can be examined. I call upon a colleague of Dr. Mesmer's, Dr. Charles Delon, who is, of course, known to us all as an honored fellow member. Doctor?
It is always difficult to judge in good faith. Any claim which seems beyond the principles that are the accepted ones of the day. When I was first approached by Dr. Mesmer, I too was skeptical, even incredulous. He began by outlining for me the theory of animal magnetism, and my skepticism increased.
I'm sure it did.
I therefore took Dr. Mesmer to see some of the afflicted. I asked him to treat them. I watched.
Where did you take him?
To the lunatic asylum?
Charlatan! Imposter! Expel him!
Yes, Doctor. The lunatic asylum indeed. We walked through the pillars of misery, and Dr. Mesmer wept. And then I saw Dr. Mesmer apply his art. I watched him induce, then control, then take away an epileptic seizure. I saw him make a dropsical limb swell and shrink virtually at will. I observed for myself how the patients began to understand that their own bodies were in some part their own responsibility, that many of these symptoms were not visitations from beyond, not fate, but directly due to their own experiences, memories, attitudes. The doctor was there to hold up a mirror for me.
She's been blistered and administered with poison. This is the point. I'm gradually bringing these fits under control by the very methods I was describing to you.
Really?
Dr. Ingenhous, lay your hands upon her.
Why?
I want you to see something with your own two eyes. Your hands. Here.
And what is the point of this?
Stroke, sir. Both your hands. Stroke. Attention. You see? And this power can be transferred not only to you, but to other objects. Hold this against her.
No. This is all too perverse for my taste.
Forgive me, I thought you were a serious and open-minded man. I brought this girl here from an asylum.
I do know the case.
She's my cousin, Professor.
It was a kind gesture, but as a doctor, it was irresponsible. You haven't cured her. We must bleed her immediately. Open up one of her veins.
Well, then concede that the power of the magnet may be just a hint of a similar force acting all the time on human beings.
Damn nonsense.
Surely, Dr. Ingenhausen, surely you do not deny that the silvery harlot of the night has it
The who?
within- The moon, sir.
If you mean the moon, Dr. Mesmer, why on earth do you not say so?
Moon, yes, moon.
We are supposed to be men of science, not ranting adolescent poets.
But does it not pull the very ocean far up shore and then drag it back again? Can you see the force, or the pull of the magnet, or the electricity?
Dr. Mesmer, I am not in the slightest degree accustomed to being addressed as though I were a child. And may I remind you that superstition and religious enthusiasm have been purged from the Queen of Sciences.
Oh, I'm sorry, my passion makes me gabble.
Passion and medicine do not mix, Dr. Mesmer.
They don't?
No, they are at opposite poles. And since you choose to use the moon in your dissertation, I also remind you that it is the symbol of lunatics.
If I could only let the arrow fly.
What?
The shaft of thought, Dr. Ingenhouse. The conviction that I have made a discovery which will lift pain, misery, and disharmony from our burdened frames.
What a fool you are. What a cock-crowing idiot you turned out to be. The great genius, Mesmer. Living on his wife's charity. Only the son of a shit-arsed gamekeeper.
Your language.
What?
What?
Listen, you smug. Don't I pay the bills and give you some sort of entry into better society? I've a mind to sell the house.
The house is, as you imply, yours to sell, my dear.
Sell the house and move us out. Lock, stock and barrel.
Bathtub. Lock, stock and bathtub.
Everything you say is perfectly true, my dear.
It is, yes.
For certainly I could not have married you for your generous spirit.
What?
To say as little as possible about your tact, your charm, and your missing back teeth.
And you can take that ugly grin off your face.
Freiherrn Genesius von Schürzen. Freiherr Luisius von Topfung. Their Excellencies, Baron Herecki de Horka and the Baroness de Horka. His Excellency, Chancellor Anton Mesmer von Kaunitz.
Good afternoon, ladies. My pleasure. Good afternoon.
And they say he's so frightened of ailments and diseases that he will not let anyone within 2 arms' length of him who has so much as a spot. A little spot upon their face.
I'm sorry.
The Chancellor.
Yes.
It's unhealthy to be so obsessed with sickness.
We're the only animal that knows it's going to die, madame.
Yes?
And yet we're also the only species that has some faint sense of perfection.
Oh, dear. Philosophy.
Hence, our inner rage at sickness. We could hear the music of the heavenly spheres, if only restrained to listen.
She's blind, did you know that? Blind as a bat. Ever since she was 3.
Maria Teresa, concentrate. Concentrate, Doctor.
Patient of mine, Professor, but I would have
just lift her veil.
Yes, of course.
Be careful, I beg you.
I think, if you agree, sir, we should bleed her immediately.
I think we must.
Please. Bring me a bowl.
No bowl! No blood spilling, put those blades away.
What do you think you're doing?
This young woman is in urgent need of the assistance of Franz Anton Mesmer.
And who, pray, may that be?
I am he.
Are you aware that you're manhandling Professor Stirk? Get out of the way. Physician to the Empress.
What is the physician to the Empress intend to do to this young woman? Open her veins or open her eyes?
India knows who is this man.
I am a man. Girls, besides, sir. You should never cover such an exquisite face.
Mesmer, leave her alone!
You will not be bled. I'm going to hold your face between my hands, girl.
Will someone please remove this man?
One moment, please.
Your Excellency, if I may say so.
This is no time for speech-making. Let's at least see what this man can do.
If Your Excellency so wishes.
The sun pulls near. A magnet draws out its sun. All is ebb and flow. There is a universal unseen force, moving through all things and all creatures. It is this power of animal magnetism moving from me to you, Maria Theresa, that provoked the crisis.
Nonsense.
This power moving from me to you made you cry out in agony as it encountered the distortion of your sickness. Encountered the distortion of your sickness. You can feel it. You can feel it. You can feel it. Can you? Can you feel it?
Yes. I can feel it.
Here is your patient. She has not been harmed. Professor Sturck, Dr. Ingenhouse, it is my profound hope that you will now care for your patient with as much diligence and conviction as you showed when objecting to the relief of her agony.
Ha!
Listen. There's the power. I can hear it.
It was the door.
It was that man opening and closing the door.
No, listen.
With as much diligence and conviction as you showed when objecting to the relief of her agony. Her agony
Please, Dr. Ingenhaus. It hurts too much.
Then it's doing its job. As tight on your head as your own skin. And as hard as your own bone.
Isn't there another way? Perhaps Dr. Mesmer.
Are you deranged?
But he took away my daughter's pain.
Does this child's pain not come and go? Exactly. What you saw that charlatan perform was not what you thought you saw. It was a coincidence dressed in flummery.
No.
Yes, it was. I know what that man performs. Comic opera.
Go on playing.
I don't feel like it.
Did you want to say something to me, my dearest?
Listen. Thunder. You can hear it.
Yes. It always gives me a headache.
You should go to your bed, my dear. Angels guard you, dear wife.
Angels guard you, dear husband.
No, Father, no.
If only you knew the ache in my soul. You can have what you wish. Anything on this earth I can give. Anything.
Mesmer. Take me to Mesmer.
Yes. Yes.
What are you doing? Franzel, Franzel. You know you shouldn't be out of your bed. What is it? What are you trying to say?
I love you. I do. I do.
You think you do? A little sleep. A little dream. I'm glad you're here. What is it?
Somewhere, a long way away, I thought I heard his sweetest little song.
What song? I didn't hear a song.
I did. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da.
My wife's young cousin has a music box at her bedside. It plays exactly that tune. The tiniest of sounds, and yet you must have heard it all the way from here. Please, we are to sit.
I can hear a dewdrop as it quivers on a spider's web, or a fly as it walks across the ceiling.
Perhaps you want to hear things more than you want to see.
No. It cannot be so.
I cannot hear a dewdrop on a spider's web. I can see it. A diamond in a cradle of silk. What is it?
I can hear the turn of the world. I can hear the moon crossing the sky.
And can you hear the human heart? When I was a boy, I too could hear the turn of the world. I used to climb the tallest slope that I could find in order to listen better.
What did it sound like?
The wind in the trees. Like the beat of a bird's wing. Clean.
Clean.
I used to climb as high as I could in order to get away from the dirt down below.
Yes.
The slow, spreading stain. The contamination.
Yes.
That's what you don't want to see.
You're hurting my wrist.
You shall see.
I can hear the little minuet again.
You shall.
I can. I can hear it. Like the scent of flowers. The music in the air. And it's only for me. You cannot hear it. You cannot know. You cannot.
Mama?
I'm going to chase them away, Franz. They're upset.
How did he do it? I mean, something strange happened with that blind girl last
Well,
week.
your stepfather is the sort of fool who doesn't know he's a fool, Franz, and sometimes God smiles upon such creatures, that's all.
Yeah, but how did he do it? I mean, something happened. Look at all that rabble
Oh,
out
shut
there.
up! Look what he does. Insults the best doctors and gets what for clients? Riff-raff with no money. Scum without any shoes. They need a bucket of piss thrown over them.
We know that you're out there! That means you! Come on! You have to help us! We have to come to the medical man! Out! Please, you have to help us! Please! Go away! Filthy bastard! Go!
Stop it!
Away!
Get out!
Get out! Get out!
In my house! Get them out!
You get out!
Get
Go!
them out! You.
Baron de Hawker. He's outside.
He was at the piano recital, wasn't he?
Yes.
Well, bid him welcome. And France! Leave me alone with him for a quarter of an hour. Understand?
Yes, Mama.
This is a very big fish. Baron, who think my husband is without tact, or indeed sufficient sense of the social proprieties. You see, his father was a gamekeeper, and Franz Anton must have spent much of his boyhood lying on his belly in the grass. But his obvious intelligence, the originality of his mind, have taken him far beyond birds' eggs and rabbit nooses. Although perhaps leaving some sense of these lowlier matters in his manner. My own family, which is extremely distinguished, often say to me that I couldn't have made a better match.
Join her. Join her. Pick up the magnet. Give it to her. Pick up the magnet. I've completed the circle. Oh, people. You poor people. Poor, sick, pitiless world. Where shall we find the mercy and the pity and the truth? And how shall we end the abuse and the cruelty and the pain? Magnets will reinforce the power of the universal fluid. It is a force which flows through all things. It is a force which straightens out that which is bent, that which is sick, that which is crooked, distorted, that which is untrue. But as this force meets pain, pain will resist. When I touch the magnet, when I do what I alone can do, then you will feel it coursing through you. You will feel it. You will. You will. You will. Hold the circle. Hold the circle. storm has passed over you. Each of you has gone some little way towards harmony and health. Pick yourselves up.
My head is still on fire.
I can't see! I can't see! I can't see!
My head is still on fire.
My skin is still the same.
My love is still the same.
You have to look in before you can look out.
Get out.
Anton? Franz Anton? Husband, wake yourself up.
I want to be alone, thank you.
But Anton...
Alone, I said.
The Baron de Hawker wishes to consult with you, my dear.
Dr. Mesmer is at your service, your esteemed excellence. What did you wish to consult me about, sir?
I think there's something not quite right with my throat.
Breathe.
Gregor? What do you think you're doing?
Breaking my fucking back. My lady?
Insolence! I'll ask you again. What do you think you are doing?
The master wants his pass field, my lady. Way up in his study.
Why?
I'm not sure.
So this is what we do, is it? Kissing, is it?
Excuse me a moment, Maria Teresa. Get out of this room.
What?
If if you crash in unannounced again when I'm with a patient...
How dare you? How dare you speak to me like that in my house?
These hands. Look at them. They are the means by which I try to banish pain and misery. All things can be used for good or ill. Light of my life. Interrupt me again with your vile innuendos, and I will squeeze every last drop of poison out of you. Understand? Gregor, you brought the water. Light of my life. Please leave us now. Pour it into the bath.
Oh, Paradise, yes. Is it true you have been taking your daughter to Mesmer?
She especially wanted to. She brought us a stroke. Maria Teresa is a very strong-willed young woman, and...
Does not your daughter receive a pension from the Empress because of her disability?
And because of her talent, a small honorarium, sir, yes.
So small you can do without it.
Dr. Mesmer wishes me to stay, Father. He thinks it's better if I'm there all the time.
No.
Yes.
No, no, no.
I am staying there.
You are not going to stay. You are to stop seeing that man. I have already written to him. I shall not take you.
Then I shall go myself.
Sit down! Whoa! Maria Teresa! Maria! Maria! Maria. Maria. Oh, my dear child.
Don't touch her.
Why?
Don't touch her.
Well, she can't see, can she? You don't want her to fall now, do you? Well, forgive me. I leave you in the hands of your doctor.
I wasn't expecting you. I was even beginning to wonder if you'd come at all.
Come.
Your father has written to me.
I know. My father is afraid.
He says he will not let you stay here, and, well, hints that he's not happy with the treatment.
My father is afraid.
The whole tone of the letter is negative.
My father is afraid. Can he see us from the house? Is he looking at us? Can he see me?
No, he cannot.
Let me see you.
No, Father.
Don't be ashamed.
Bring it here, Harry. Frau Mesmer, indeed an honor. Paradies.
Close your eyes.
What is it?
Fear what you may think. You try to shut out what you do not want to see. But it's there. You know its shape. Under this cover, beneath these folds, your eyes will seek the light.
And then?
You are a road, sir. A road. My throat is as bad as it ever was. I shall bring this whole affair To the attention of the authorities. To the attention of the authorities.
Man that is born of woman is full of woe, and like the grass is soon cut down. We who are doctors know full well what the preacher says, and it cannot but give us humility. We live in a world where sickness is the common lot, and where those who suffer can at times be so eager in their search for the alleviation of their pain that they add to the sickness of their bodies a feebleness of the brain. Gullibility, gentlemen. I speak of gullibility. The fraudulent and the deceitful, the charlatan and the impostor, these are our enemies. And such a man is even now in our midst. A man who must be rooted out. A man whom we are duty-bound to chase out of our midst. I refer to one, Franz Anton Mesmer.
Francesca.
Doctor?
Good morning. And on the seventh day, no rest for us, little one. I'm going to take off the bandage, Maria Teresa.
I'm frightened.
Listen to me, listen to me. There are now just a few strands of silk between the perpetual night of your life up until this moment and the first shimmer and dance of the light that from now on will always be yours. Believe in me.
I do.
Believe in
I do.
me.
I do. Darkness. What is to be is to be.
No, no, no! What is to be is not out of our hands. Moment by moment, we make our own lives. This is the old order, the old way, the old cruelty which denies us this right. Maria Theresa, it is in the cauldron of the very next minute that we decide our fates. Not yesterday, not some tomorrow, but always, forever, now. How else but in the very next minute are we to be free?
Francesca!
No! No! No!
Sister! Steady! 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 Maria Theresa! Shh! What happened? Shh! 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 What is this? What is it? Is it a light? Are there shapes? Ah, but the shape of a petal astonishes me, too.
You cannot know the true wonder of it. Who would have known that a cloud would be like it is? Oh, the world is alive, with gleams like notes in music.
And the pains in your head, have they gone? Have they completely cleared away?
Yes, yes. Now my head sings instead.
I
deepest sympathies. It must be intolerable for you.
Well, stop them.
The young lady must not be over-distressed. That was our agreement with Mr. Paradis.
Mr. Paradis is waiting with the carriage.
I'll go.
Look at me.
Take me home.
Let it go. Let the arrow fly.
Hey! She's helpless! Helpless! What the devil do you think you're doing, you madman? Cleaning the house!
Professor Dr. Sturck, can I help you at all? I deal with most derangements, sir.
This is a day of infamy and of outrage which will long be remembered.
No, sir. It's a Tuesday, which soon will be forgotten. It's time for us to part. You know the orders. Keep your feet out of the city.
Why do you seek to interest us in nervous agitations? Don't we have enough agitations everywhere? Who is this fellow Mesmer, anyway? Where does he come from?
Vienna.
Marie Antoinette.
Dr. Delon believes him to be a man
Doctors
of...
who speak in German invariably assume their patients suffer from constipation. Our nerves are calm. We are at ease. Nervous agitations. The best cure for that is a bullet, not a German doctor.
Look at this. What's the waterfall? No?
My lady.
Mr. Mesmer, is it true that he has cured a young woman of her blindness in his native Vienna?
It is, madam.
And is it true that he can cure dropsy and paralytic fits?
I have seen it myself, my lady.
Really?
Able to restore the appetite?
I have no doubt that Dr. Mesmer can revivify the pleasures of the table, my lady.
Oh, I refer to the pleasure of the toilet, monsieur.
Mesmer, my back. Can you do anything about my back?
Your back, Duchess.
It hurts, you see. Especially at certain times, Doctor.
At night.
Certain nights.
And when you are, what, not alone in your bed?
Oh, you are the first doctor ever to understand.
My lady, your nerves are out of alignment. If, pardon me, if your husband could just...
I was not talking about my husband, sir.
I'm sorry. The diagnosis remains the same, whatever the shape or size of the member. You see before you the conductors of my power. Don't be frightened if you swoon away. Don't resist. Let it caress you, whisper to you, murmur to you as the force in me comes flowing into your flesh, your nerves, your bones. Take hold. Hold the rope. You may perhaps lose control of your senses. Don't be alarmed. Safe in my hands. Put the rods on whatever part of your body ails you. Now. Now. Muscle fluid is flowing. It's gathering strength. Feel it. Sense it. It surges. It meets the obstacle. Let it fight the pain.
Your body is now a battlefield. Can the light win? Will it? Will it? Will it? The struggle, the fight from my hands to you as it contends with your ailments, untangles your nerves, stifles the obstacles. Release yourself! Release! It serves you stronger. Release yourself!
What are we doing?
Treating great ladies with small diseases and every silver-spooned hysteric in Paris.
I cure the sick, Charles, because I can reach into their souls. This is just play acting.
Not anymore. The Royal Society has set a date for the hearing.
They're not interested in my theories. They just want to make me look a fool. One day we shall all come to acknowledge that our emotions and our bodies are not separate without the blessing of the Royal Society. What's happening?
Paris, the capital of reason, and half-digested ideas come back up like vomit.
Liberty is not a thing the poor half digest, Charles. They swallow it whole, especially when there's nothing else to eat.
France, Anton.
When a society is sick, all its members are ill too, including us. Your eyes look out, but they can also look in.
Began to understand that their own bodies were in some part their own responsibility. That many of these symptoms were not visitations from beyond, not fate, but directly due to their own experiences, memories, attitudes. The doctor was there to hold up a mirror for them. I have heard endlessly the objection that all the cures that I have exhaustively enumerated rely upon the workings of the patient's own imagination. But what of that? What if they do? If Dr. Mesmer's secret is that he engages the imagination and makes it work in the cause of mental and physical harmony, then is not this alone, this in itself, a wonderful advance in medicine?
great length and with great care. I owe it to our guest and to the society to be absolutely precise in what I say. Franz Anton Mesmer, you are a charlatan. There is no such thing as animal magnetism, and it therefore cannot have cured a single living soul. Each and every one of these cures, so-called, turns out, upon properly rigorous examination, to be, and I truly regret to say it, downright fraud. Indeed, I took the opportunity to question one such patient. A lady of distinction. One who allegedly was cured of her deafness. And I asked her, "Are you truly better?" And do you know what she replied? What did you say? Our colleagues in the medical faculty of Vienna will be surprised at none of this.
The only thing that would cause them astonishment is the length of time it has taken the savants of Paris to discover the truth about...
Ah, welcome, Professor Sturken-Ingenhaus.
Gentlemen, I would like on your behalf to extend to our visitors the gratitude of the Royal Society of Medicine for the effort and grace they have expended. Professor Sturck, welcome. You have our profound attention.
I thank you, Monsieur Vic d'Azur, and you, Monsieur Roussel de Bozenne, for the privilege you have granted me in allowing me to continue here in Paris my lifelong fight to extirpate error, superstition, ignorance, and fraud from the fair science of thought.
Like the beat of a bird's wing.
It's a sorry affair of a doctor and his patient. A young girl who, against the express wishes of her father, was subjected to this charlatanism of which you have heard. I took the liberty of bringing this young lady with me. And I will ask her now to lift her veil.
Maria Theresa, Professor Sturck has asked you to lift your veil.
No matter. One simple question will suffice. Maria Theresa Paradis, can you see?
Gentlemen, I do not wish to alarm you unduly.
Silence!
Gentlemen, I think you should know you are in the veriest danger of losing your lives.
did you know?
I don't know how I knew.
You abandoned me. I cannot see.
Do you want to see?
No. I would rather not see what there is to see. When I could see the notes on the piano, I made mistakes. I could not bear to lose that one thing. My music. One pure, clean thing.
I wish I didn't know what you mean. But I do. I do. When I was a boy, I would climb the mountain. And I could see that all around me, from one horizon to the other, everything was in harmony, in balance, except human beings. Except us. And I want I could not bear to do nothing about it.
And now let's return to our history lesson about hypnosis and mesmerism.
Louis XVI's panel included medical doctors from the Royal Faculty of Medicine in Paris, as well as respected scientists from other fields. These included the chemist Antoine Lavoisier, discoverer of oxygen and hydrogen, Dr. Joseph Guillotin, co-founder of the Academy of Medicine in Paris, and the inventor of the guillotine. Astronomer Jean Bailly, a senior member of the French Academy of Sciences, who studied the moons of Jupiter, and American scientist and ambassador to France, Benjamin Franklin. After months of investigation and observation, the commission determined that Mesmer had not discovered a real physical fluid, that the human body did not contain previously undiscovered channels, and that any effects of his treatments were due to solely the imagination of the subjects. His reputation ruined by the Commission's findings, Mesmer returned to Vienna the following year, eventually returning to the countryside near his place of birth, living out the last 30 years of his life in near total obscurity. Though the idea of animal magnetism had been debunked within scientific circles, a number of individuals continued the practice into the 19th century, many making their own unique changes to the underlying theories and procedure, some performing it in stage mesmerism shows. Mesmerism took a turn towards something closer to modern hypnosis with one of Dr. Mesmer's followers, the Marquis de Puységur, a lower nobleman of the French aristocracy. The story of his session with a peasant named Victor is widely thought to be the first use of mesmerism to improve the mood or psychological state of a person. The story is described in detail by an English doctor of the time. He took occasion to mesmerize the daughter of his agent and another young person for the toothache, and in a few moments they declared themselves cured. This questionable success was sufficient to lead Monsieur de Puységur a few days later to try his hand on a young peasant of the name Victor, who was suffering with a severe fluxion on his chest. What was Monsieur de Puységur's surprise when at the end of a few moments, Victor went off into a kind of tranquil sleep, without crisis or convulsion, and in that sleep began to gesticulate and talk and enter into his private affairs. Then he became sad, and Monsieur de Puységur tried mentally to inspire him with cheerful thoughts. He hummed a lively tune to himself inaudibly, and immediately Victor began to sing the air. Victor remained asleep for an hour and awoke composed, with his symptoms mitigated. While reflecting upon this episode, the Marquis noted a connection between some of Victor's reactions and sleepwalking, and became the first person to refer to this reaction as artificial somnambulism, a term which has carried with us to this day. Though Mesmer's theories about the mechanics of animal magnetism were proven to be false, many early mesmerists continued to practice and expound upon their own theories and procedures into the 19th century. One of these early practitioners was a man named Abbé Faria, who wrote a book on the subject in 1819 entitled On the Cause of Lucid Sleep. Abbé Faria was near the end of his life when he wrote this work, and the road which led him there reads like a novel, literally. He was the real-life basis of a character of the same name in the Alexandre Dumas classic, The Count of Monte Cristo. But the real-life Abbé Faria did not die in prison like in the novel, but eventually served out his prison sentence and moved to Paris, where he became fascinated with mesmerism. Born in Portuguese colony on the coast of India in 1746, he spent the majority of his life as a Catholic priest and a doctor of theology. In his 40s, he became involved in an attempted revolt in his native India and fled to France, which itself was in the throes of its own revolution. He befriended many notable revolutionaries during this time, which was suspicion enough for Napoleon Bonaparte to throw him into the infamous Château d'If prison for nearly 20 years. Based on his lengthy observations of mesmerism, once he was free, he wrote his influential book, which put forward the idea of mesmerism was a mental process of the subject. He called the state lucid sleep and explained it as the result of a combination of visual fixation and mental fatigue. Just a year later, another mesmerist, Etienne de Cuvier, published the first work to name the phenomenon hypnotism and call the practitioners hypnotists, based on the Greek word for sleep. The first recorded instance of using hypnosis for anesthesia in surgery was on April 12, 1829 in Paris. Dr. Jules Cloquet worked in conjunction with a local mesmerist by the name of Chaplin to perform surgery on a female patient with breast cancer. Herbert Mayo, an English surgeon, described the operation. She was prepared for the operation by Monsieur Chaplin, who on several successive days threw her into a trance by the ordinary mesmeric manipulations. She was then like an ordinary sleepwalker and would converse with indifference about the contemplated operation, the idea of which, when she was in her natural state, filled her with terror. During the whole of the operation, the patient in her trance exhibited not the slightest sign of suffering. Her expression of countenance did not change, nor was the voice, the breathing, or the pulse at all affected. When asked by Dr. Mayo why he did not begin utilizing this state for all his operations, the French doctor replied that he had not dared, that the prejudice against mesmerism was so strong at Paris that he probably would have lost his reputation and his income by doing so. The public distrust of mesmerism led to many such instances of hypnotists keeping their results quiet, without publication, which in turn contributed to the air of mystery surrounding the subject. Once the early mesmerists began proposing new theories and finding new applications for mesmerism, the practice began to gain more legitimacy among doctors and scientists moving into the mid-19th century. In 1841, a Scottish medical doctor, James Braid, went on to become one of the most important figures in the history of hypnosis after he observed his first mesmerist show at the age of 46. Born in rural Scotland, James Braid went on to study medicine at the University of Edinburgh and became a respected general surgeon in Manchester, England. Though he may have heard of mesmerism during his training or career, the first time he actually observed it was at a traveling show performed by a Swiss mesmerist, and the practice greatly intrigued him. After the show, he obtained permission to closely observe the man's subjects, and after months of intense observation, Dr. Braid had developed the core of his theory regarding the practice. Disliking the connotations of the term mesmerism, he adopted de Cuvier's term hypnotism and hypnotist, becoming the first to use these words in English. He explained in his first book that, "I have now entirely separated hypnotism from animal magnetism. I consider it to be merely a simple, speedy, and certain mode of throwing the nervous system into a new condition, which may be rendered eminently available in the cure of certain disorders. I trust, therefore, it may be investigated quite independently of any bias, either for or against the subject, as connected with mesmerism, and only by the facts which can be adduced. I feel quite confident we may have acquired, in this process, a valuable addition to our curative means, but I repudiate the idea of holding it up as our universal remedy, nor do I even pretend to understand as yet the whole range of diseases in which it may be useful." Dr. Braid's writings and experiments with hypnotism quickly made him the leading figure in hypnosis in the English-speaking world. His scientific approach and willingness to engage in debate gave hypnosis a new, respectable face compared to the mystery and controversy surrounding mesmerism. He clearly summarized his basic eye fascination induction in an 1843 book. "Take any bright object. I generally use my lancet case, between the thumb and the fore and middle fingers of the left hand. Hold it from about 8 to 15 inches from the eyes at such position above the forehead as may be necessary to produce the greatest possible strain upon the eyes and the eyelids, and enable the patient to maintain a steady fixed stare at the object. The pupils will be at first contracted. They will shortly begin to dilate, and after they have done so to a considerable extent, and have assumed a wavy motion, if the fore and middle fingers of the right hand are carried from the object towards the eyes, most probably the eyelids will close involuntarily with a vibratory motion." The renewed scientific interest in hypnosis prompted by James Braid not only led to new ways of thinking and talking about the practice, but to new studies and applications as well.
Everything is a type of hypnosis, even simple talking, trying to get an idea across, trying to create an image. If I tell you I have a lemon in my hand and bite into it, you might feel a little bit of juice in your own mouth. That's a hypnosis, that's a suggestion, and that's what life is. And so many people get caught in their suggestions and they can't get free. So what we like to do is dehypnotize. Dehypnotize people and get them out of it. We have a whole course on this at IMFlix at the International Medical University. So I hope you want to spend a little time learning about hypnosis and how to do it, and how to dehypnotize people and yourself to get free from different habits, bad lifestyle choices. This is Desiree Duvernay thanking you.